think everybody's a little tired of being cooped up. I know I am. I think we need a project. Let's make a SubKick. SubKicks. We all kind of know what these are. You have your kick drum, you put the largest mic you can in front of it with the idea that it's gonna pick up those low frequencies because it's the biggest mic and the kick drum is the biggest source, right? That seemed to make sense. So what's the biggest thing we could possibly put in front of a kick drum? How about an old speaker? Actually taking the cone out of a speaker and putting it in front of the kick drum. Makes sense, right? It's gonna pick up the low frequencies because look how big it is. It's huge, it's bigger than a microphone. It seems like it should work. It does work, but here's the interesting part that I thought was kind of cool. When I was doing this, working in and around different studios, I was always taught that doing this and wiring a speaker backwards essentially turns it into a microphone. And because of the size of it, because of the mass and the inertia, it's gonna do really well at picking up low frequencies. But what's actually happening, we're not really making a microphone, we're making a synth. Here's why. The speaker, when it moves, when we take the speaker out of this box and we mount it on whatever we're gonna mount it on, if we mount it at all, there's gonna be a severe lack of dampening and a severe lack of control. So if anything comes along, say an air blast, it's gonna force this thing to move, and it's gonna move however it wants to move. It has its own resonant frequency that it's gonna vibrate at, and every speaker is different. So when it comes with an air blast, like say from a kick drum that's sitting an inch or a half an inch away from it, it's gonna start moving back and forth, which is then going to get the speaker creating its own resonant frequency. That will get picked up via the cable we're going to attach to this, and that's what's gonna go to our interface. So it's not necessarily that we're picking up magically all of a sudden the low frequencies from the kick drum, which we didn't have access to before. It's actually very easy for small diaphragm condensers to be created very flat, all the way down to 20 hertz, which is the limit of human hearing. But small diaphragm condensers do a really good job of recreating them very naturally and very true to what they are. This is not true, this is not natural, this is something the speaker is going to do itself. So it's not necessarily, if you make a SubKick and you put it on a kick drum, it's not necessarily, do I like the sound of this kick drum? It's, do you like the sound of the SubKick? For that purpose, I've never purchased a SubKick, okay? I don't buy them because there's so many other speakers just laying around. Like this, for example, this was the first studio monitor I ever had. I've had this for 15 years. I don't know where the other one is. Probably got trashed somewhere along the line, but this one survived. This works. The cone is in really good condition. The rest of it doesn't necessarily function, but I'm gonna put this to use and I'm gonna make a SubKick. The other one that I've been using for years is getting a little rough around the edges, so it's time to make a new one. Honestly, this is the easiest thing you're ever gonna do. If you've never DIY'd before, this is a great one to try out. All we're going to do is remove this woofer from this cabinet, which just involves a screwdriver. You could have a screw gun if you want. Make things go a little quicker. Need a soldering iron, which don't get too hung up if you've never done that before. You can get the cheapest soldering iron you could find. Get some lead-free solder. Just try it out. Solder is a very forgiving hobby. You can learn. If you mess it up, you don't really ever ruin it. You can fix things with solder. It's not a problem. Last thing you need is a mic cable. Now this one was already broken anyway. This was already on the bench to be repaired. I already prepared it for this project. I've already cut the ground. You can see the ground is gone. All we have are our white, which in this case is our hot, our positive, and then our blue, which is cold, negative. Those are the only two things we have to worry about with the speaker. In this situation, we don't even need to worry about a ground. All we have to know is that on an XLR pin, and if you look up any wiring diagram for it, and I'll try to link one if I can remember, there's 3 pins inside of an XLR, and if you undo this and pull everything back, you're gonna see little numbers on the back of this 1, 2, and 3. It's gonna tell you which pin is which. That's gonna be really handy. You're gonna wanna get an XLR wiring diagram. 1 is the ground, 2 is hot, 3 is cold. But I forget every single time I do this, and I've wired hundreds of cables, and it's always good to double check. So just go look at it. In this case, all we're worried about are pins 2 and 3. So if you didn't want to wire ground at all to anything, you don't necessarily have to. This is a speaker, all it needs is a positive and negative, which may mean you're gonna get a little noise. We're only concerned about the sub frequencies that this is going to produce. So if you do get a little top end buzz, just low pass it. It's not going to matter. You're not using this for high frequencies anyway. Anyway, let's get to work. Let's take this bad boy apart and see what happens. Now all we want to do is gently pull this out. We don't want to hurt the speaker. It will have some cables attached to it. There we go, pull those out. There we go. We have the woofer out of the cabinet. It's in pretty good condition, albeit it's pretty dusty and dirty. That's fine, we don't care. All we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our XLR cable. We're gonna quickly solder these joints. There are tons of soldering tutorials on YouTube. I'm not gonna do one here. I'm just gonna blast through this real quick. I've already got these cables ready to go. All we're gonna do is we're gonna heat up the speaker here. And I'm going to slide this guy right in there. You always wanna remember to solder the work, not the solder. And that just means that you're heating up the area, the metal, the cable. You're not just melting solder over things. And why would you want to make sure to do that? For a couple of reasons. If you just melt solder over a couple cables, you're gonna end up with what's called a cold solder joint, and that's not good. It may pass electricity for a short while, but it's not going to be sustained for very long, and chances are it's gonna break very quickly on you. Okay, we got it wired. Let's go see if it works. So I've got my little makeshift stand here that I use for my SubKicks. Just a very heavy bass, short mic stand. I made this little L bracket of wood here. All this thing's meant to do is kind of support the speaker, and then there's a little hook on the back that I can wind the cable. Because the way I do these, you can't remove the cable. You could do it however you would like to do. But I've just got one screw. I'm gonna screw it into the tip here, and then use some zip ties to support the rest. This is not rocket science. Okay, just get it nice and a little bit tight here. Take a zip tie. This will work just as well. Gaff tape. Now again, this looks really janky because it is, and that's okay. And it's essentially going to just hang from the tape while being supported from the screw at the tip of this. There are probably easier ways to do this. I want something that's semi-permanent that I don't have to set up every single time. And for me, this worked for a very long time. Whoop. So I want to get it as close to the kick drum without actually touching. I don't want to interact with the kick drum. I just want to collect the air coming off of it. So now all we got to do is plug it in and see if we get a signal. Now what we're doing is waiting for Pro Tools to open, and we're gonna go hit the kick drum and see what we get. Make a new track, set to the right input, record arm it, turn the speaker off, and let's go hit that kick drum. Let's go check and see if it worked. Hey, big old clips. So what's that mean? I'm using channel 2 over here on the cappies. I already have a pad initiated there, so this is not a time to panic. Speakers are super crazy high output. All we need is a pad, another inline pad. You can wire your own through a series of resistors just in the line, or I'm just gonna put this in. This is an imp pad by Whirlwind. This is 30 dB. Immediately right off the top, I'm gonna put it in line here. All that's gonna happen, I literally just plug the pad right onto the cable and then plug this into the snake. And now we hit record again. We definitely have some high frequency noise going on. Let me turn this on real quick. And that could be for any number of reasons, most of which I just don't care because I'm not going to use those frequencies anyway. So all I'm going to do is literally cut them out. First, let's see where they are. So they're right up like 2K to 20K, which, big whoops, this speaker is not reproducing any of those. And like magic, it's gone. Definitely usable stuff. This is pretty cool. All right, that was it. I hope you guys saw how crazy easy it is to build a SubKick. If you're looking for something to do, this is a quick project that I guarantee you're gonna use in some of your mixes. If you were missing that kind of girth and hugeness from your kick drum, this is a super easy way to get it from stuff you have around that you're not using. And if you don't have it, a quick trip to Goodwill or something like that, or even just look on Facebook Marketplace or Reverb for old speakers. Sometimes you can even get broken things. Maybe the cabinet itself is broken, but the woofer is fine. That's a perfect use for this. Now, what I will say, in some of my experimentation, I wouldn't go with a crazy huge speaker. I wouldn't go with like a 12-inch speaker or anything like that. I'll put like a 15-inch bass cab speaker over the top of it. Kind of ruin your chances of miking it with anything else. And these things are cool, but they're not kind of a broadband solution for kick drums. If you're listening to this on a laptop, chances are you probably didn't hear a thing we did anyway. But use headphones with stuff like this. If you're listening to this in a car, mixes that you've done with this in a car or on a good system, this is where the hugeness of that bass drum is going to come from. There are other ways to achieve it, but this is kind of an easy, consistent way that just kind of works. It's cheap. You don't have to worry about buying expensive microphones. You saw how easy this was to do. Hope you are not afraid of the soldering iron. It deserves respect, but you don't have to be afraid of it by any means. Anyway, guys, I hope this one kind of inspires you to get out there and do something. I'm kind of getting stir crazy, but I gotta get to work. I got my mom fuel coffee, so I'm ready for the rest of the day. I'm gonna go finish some mixes. You guys have fun doing your sub kicks. Tell me in the comments down below if you're gonna build your own. Hey guys, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more stuff like this, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified every time I put a video out, hit the bell while you're down there. If you want, go ahead and check out this video right here. And if you would, I'm gonna put a link down in the description. Head to our store. I've got some drum samples for sale, some guitar impulses, bass impulses. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. See ya.